Hello biology students and welcome to class today. We are on page number 340 in your textbook. This is chapter 15 in biology at the Frankfurt Christian Academy. We have today our discussion of zoology, part 1, the invertebrates, our introduction to the animal kingdom. So we are finally now going to be discussing the animals that we have been looking so forward to getting to. As we introduce the invertebrates, as we begin to look at the animal kingdom, we want to cover a few terms and make sure that we are familiar with some of the words that are going to be thrown around as we study the animal kingdom. First is zoology. Zoology is the study of the animal kingdom. The word breaks down pretty easily. We have zoo. We know what a zoo is. That's where they keep animals. There's that logi or logos, the study of. So we have the study of the animal kingdom. A zoologist is one who studies the animal kingdom. Next, we begin to look at, basically, when we look at animals, animals are either motile or they are sessile. Either they are able to move themselves or they are planted firm and they don't move at all. Most animals, most members of the animal kingdom are going to be motile, but we'll see some that are sessile for most of their life. Support systems in the animal kingdom. Animals will either have an exoskeleton or an endoskeleton. The skeleton is that series of bones or cartilage that support the living thing. In some animals, we even see water being used as the skeleton. So we have exoskeletons. These are skeletons on the outside of the animal's body. An endoskeleton is a skeleton on the inside of an animal's body. You and I, we both have an endoskeleton. The skeleton is on the inside of our body. It provides support and structure for our body. The crab, for instance, or the lobster, has an exoskeleton. The skeleton is on the outside of his body, providing support and structure for his body. We look at the covering of animals, and as we look at the covering of animals, typically animals are going to have, well, there is no typical for an animal. Some animals have the single layer of cells, as you see here on the slide. Some have furs, some have scales. You and I, we have skin and hair. Feathers, shells. Different animals are going to have different protective body coverings, but all animals, every member of the animal kingdom does have some type of protective body covering. So we're looking at characteristics of the animal kingdom. And as we look at the characteristics, we said, number one, they have movement. Even those that are sessile, there is some movement to them, but they're either motile or sessile. We said 2, they have a support system, either an exoskeleton or an endoskeleton. Number 3, they do have protective body covering. Number 4, the nutrition of members in the animal kingdom. Members of the animal kingdom are heterotrophic. You remember this means that they eat other things. They cannot produce their own food. They must be reliant upon something else for food. Now, there are several different processes involved in them obtaining nutrition. There is ingestion. That is the process of taking food in. There is digestion. That's the breaking down of food into substances that we can use. There is assimilation, and that is the absorption of the food for later use. So if you think of ingestion, that's your mouth taking the food in. Digestion, that's chewing the food. That's your stomach beginning to and your small intestine beginning to manipulate and break down your food along with the acids in your stomach and the saliva breaking down the food. Assimilation then is the absorption. That's the small intestine where those nutrients are absorbed into the body system. So all animals are heterotrophic, and they have several processes in their digestive system. All animals intake oxygen for use in cellular respiration. They perform aerobic cellular respiration throughout their body. We see that they require oxygen. Now, different animals are going to get this oxygen different ways. You and I, we use our lungs. Fish, of course, use their gills. Some animals we'll see breathe through their skin or tubules. But all animals, all members of the animal kingdom, will require respiration. Circulation. Members of the animal kingdom have both a closed and open circulatory system. Now, by a closed system, that's what we have. All of our blood stays in our veins and our arteries. All of our blood is enclosed into one system. An open system is more like what the insect has, where the blood comes up to a dorsal blood vessel and then falls down over the internal organs of the insect, and the blood's purpose then is to carry away the waste product from the insect's body. So open circulatory system is very different from what you and I have, but yet it's still doing much the same thing. The blood is carrying something. It's still needed, and so they have a circulatory system. Okay, we're going to back up here, and we're going to go through and see all members of the animal kingdom are either motile or sessile. They have some type of support system, either exo or endoskeleton. All of them have a protective body covering. They all are heterotrophic and have several processes to this digestive system. They are going to be breathing. They have a respiratory system. They're going to be bringing in oxygen for use in cellular respiration. They have a circulatory system, although this will look very different, whether it be insect or human or other animals, as we'll see later on. Well, all members of the animal kingdom have a excretion. There are specialized organs that eliminate soluble waste. Food that we eat that cannot be digested then goes into our large intestine. Our large intestine absorbs the water from that food, from that material. It absorbs the water from the undigested material, and then that material is passed out of the body through the anus. So we see all members of the animal kingdom are going to be eliminating the soluble waste, the part of the animal, part of the food that cannot be brought into the body system, cannot be digested. We have a response system. Now, a response is really irritability. You'll see the word used, irritability. Irritability is not just what you get towards your sibling. Irritability means stop poking me. When you get poked and you move away, you can poke the simplest of worms and they will move away from that poke. The cockroach senses a wall nearby with its antenna, and or it senses air movement through the hairs on its leg, and that is a irritability. It is a response to stimuli. So something stimulates it, and it's a simple response. It's irritability. Now, with this response system comes a system of nerves, and we'll look at that more when we look at the nervous system. It will either go to a ganglion or a brain. You and I, we have a brain. Yes, you do. You have a brain. You really do. You have a brain. The ganglion is sometimes called a simple brain. It's not a true brain. It doesn't quite function like a standard brain. We'll look at it a little bit more when we get to the worms. All animals are going to be reproducing. Some animals reproduce asexually. All animals reproduce sexually. So some animals have both the ability to be asexual and sexual, but some of them do have this ability of asexual reproduction. We're going to look at the symmetry of members of the animal kingdom. This word symmetry is not quite as familiar as many of the other terms that we've just thrown out here today, but this word symmetry means that basically you can divide something in half, and when you look at it in half, it is either symmetrical or asymmetrical. Let me see here. I'll move this guy down out of the way a little bit more. We can see that word. There we go. It is either symmetrical or asymmetrical. And we have all of these different objects. So we'll look at them one by one. We'll start off with the frog here. The frog has bilateral symmetry. You can see if you were to cut the frog in half, one half is the same as the other. And so he has bilateral symmetry, two halves that are essentially the same. All right, he is symmetrical. Then we bring in something, well, let's just pull in this sphere. Some things have spherical, some animals have a spherical symmetry, meaning no matter how you cut it, length, width, or in half this way, you can slice it down the middle, and it's going to be the same. No matter how you slice it, you're going to have two similar halves. That's spherical symmetry. Spherical symmetry. Then we have radial symmetry. Radial symmetry means that you can slice this thing in many different angles. You can see here we have different slices going through our cnidarian, and as it does, it is exhibiting this radial symmetry. Basically means it's kind of like a tube shape. Is what we think of here. It's not a sphere, but it's some type of a tube shape. Okay. Now, if you try to cut this thing and you can't cut it in half any way at all, with having two equal sides, it would be asymmetrical or not symmetrical. As we break down our animals, we're going to begin to study these things by invertebrates or vertebrates. Now, normally what we think of is we think of vertebrates. When we think of the animal kingdom, we think of dogs and horses and cows and ponies and animals with backbones. That's what we think of because that's what we have in our house. We have dogs, we have cats, they're the animals that we love, and but really these are only 5% of all animals. The invertebrates, however, are animals without backbones, comprising 95% of all animals. Most of our animals are invertebrates. And if you look at the animal species, you say the number of animals that are insects, the number of arthropods, the number of chordates, meaning true backbone, and then other invertebrates. You see here the most of the animals in the world are insects. Well, there's our introduction to the animal kingdom. We said that all animals are either motile or sessile. They have a support system, either exoskeleton or endoskeleton. They have a protective body covering. They are heterotrophic with several processes in the digestive system. They intake oxygen for use in respiration. They have a closed or open circulatory system, but they are pumping blood through their body. They will have excretions, specialized organs that eliminate soluble waste. They have response system, that's our nervous system, and will reproduce, some asexually but all sexually. We looked at what symmetry means and the different classifications in our species of animals, either vertebrates or invertebrates. Hope you enjoy your night, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.